For the first time in 2025, we bring you inside Welcome Stadium here in Dayton, Ohio, a place where the Flyers have won a lot, and especially in their home debuts. Dayton aims to win their fifth home opener in a row this afternoon as they play host for just the second time ever to the Saints from Thomas More and Northern Kentucky. Alongside Charlie Danis, Luke Westpoli with you. So glad you could join us as we kick off the home season of Flyer football here in 2025. Week 2 for each of these two teams, and both of them headed to Illinois last week. And for the Dayton Flyers, came up 10 points short against the Panthers from Eastern Illinois. But Charlie, a very winnable game. Dayton started off well. They opened the scoring, but a lot of new pieces on defense, and that definitely showed, especially with the way they defended the ground game.
When you look at the final statistics from this game against Eastern Illinois, you would have thought that Dayton had been blown out of the water. 336 rushing yards for Eastern Illinois, 465 yards of total offense, 40 minutes of possession as opposed to only 19 minutes for Dayton, and yet Trevor Andrews' crew had a chance to win this game with a little over 9 minutes to go, but Eastern Illinois was able to grind out the win thanks to a 75-yard drive in which they scored a touchdown with about 2 minutes to go. That didn't end the Flyers, but despite being outgained, not having the ball all that much, the Flyers still had a chance to win this game. I think you got to feel pretty good going forward that you gave your best effort despite the fact that you got outgained. Today, it's a get-right game. You get to have a chance to work on that run defense, to work on running the ball, which they didn't do a good job against EIU last week. This is an opportunity for the Flyers to get that first win of 2025.
Things were far from perfect from an execution standpoint, but Trevor Andrews echoed that exact same sentiment, was very pleased with his team's effort last week. But let's face it, there's no team across all of college football that feels things go perfectly in week 1, hoping to make that big leap with a pretty young team as they make their way into week 2. Flyers set to receive the kickoff, and we are underway as an end-over-end kick is received inside the 15-yard line, and now a chance to break this one out. A good return up the right side for Gavin Locko. Sets the Flyers up with good field position as they'll start outside their own 35-yard line.
And we're going to be calling his name a lot. Gavin Locko, the former high school quarterback turned wide receiver extraordinaire. Does a lot of good things on special teams, but he makes his money catching the football, a real weapon for this Flyers offense.
And 124 yards through the air and a couple of big ones last week. So now here is Bryce Schondelmeyer getting the start for Dayton, the transfer from Youngstown State. Very interesting story of how he won the starting job in camp. He starts, though, with a handoff, and Mason Hackett heads around the edge for a mid-size pickup. Brought down after a gain of about 4. Hackett and Luke Hansen, the number 2 tailback, pretty much shared the roles equally last week. Hackett, 8 carries for 26 yards in week 1. But those two have really separated themselves amongst the pack. We may see a little bit of Levi Moel, the third-string running back, in addition in this game. Second down and 6, and the handoff goes down the left side, and Hackett this time is stacked up by this Thomas More defensive front, as that will go officially for no gain and sets up a third down and medium. And this was an area where Dayton really struggled last week. 3 of 14 against Eastern Illinois on third down, and they need 6 from their own 41.
This is where you are expecting your quarterback to make a big play in the passing game. Let's see if they give Schondelmeyer time to throw.
They go 5 wide with Locko motioning outside. Here is Bryce Schondelmeyer. He takes the snap, lets it loose quickly. Catch made by Locko. He gets near the stick. See where they mark him. He is short. Wrapped up just shy by Elijah Manning, who had 11 tackles in the game last week, and a good play in the open field. That is awfully close. But for Dayton, see what the call is for Trevor Andrews, and he is rolling the dice, keeping the offense on the field on his opening drive.
I like this. He's confident in his offense.
Big boys up front. Schondelmeyer hands it off. Hackett straight ahead. He's got it. First down.
The Flyers struggled running the football last week against Eastern Illinois, 31 total rushing yards. What do you do at the beginning of the game? You show confidence in your running game. You give it to one of your big backs here in Hackett. Good blocking up front, and he's able to pick up the first down for the Flyers.
Preseason All-Pioneer League. Hackett picks up the first, and he's had the bulk of the carries to begin. Fresh set of downs. Schondelmeyer, the first-year Flyer, takes the snap and whips it outside. Laco tiptoes up the edge and picks up 7 on first down.
Boy, Gavin Laco, he had himself a heck of a game last week against Eastern Illinois. 6 catches, 101 yards, and a score averaged just under 17 yards per catch. Like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, this guy's going to be a real weapon for this Flyers offense.
Sets up 2nd down and 3. So a lot of big play ability from Dayton's passing game last week. Haven't seen Trevor Andrews' team go deep in the air just yet. They keep it on the ground on 2nd and short. Hackett bangs ahead right near the sticks. And this should be a Dayton first down as the chains have not been moved yet. And now they will be sent across, and Hackett will finally get a breather for the Flyers.
One of the things that you have to possess as a running back is good balance. And Hackett was able to hone that skill by playing hockey back in his youth. You have to have good balance in that sport. You also have to have good balance when toting the rock. Good job by Hackett there, picking up another first down for the Flyers.
Played for the Ohio AAA Blue Jackets till he was 16. That's a very well-known program with a lot of NHL alumni and good pedigree. On 1st and 10, over the middle, the catch is made for a short pickup.
That was Dominic Verbancic, the redshirt junior out of Louisville, Kentucky. Came on strong for the Flyers last year. Good big body possession wide receiver. A good option opposite Laco.
Redshirt junior out of Louisville and Male High School. Sets it up for 2nd down and 5. Bryce Schondelmeyer is a native of Springfield, Ohio, nearby to us here in Dayton. Shovels it up the middle on the sweep to Laco. He hurdles over a tackler but gets driven down off a hard hit from Tofa Luwani. The former All-State selection from Milford High School in Cincinnati comes up on the stop after a pickup of 2. 3rd down and 3 coming up for the Flyers.
And they love giving Laco the ball on those jet sweeps, especially when you have good blocking. Get them in the open field. You get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. Interesting decision here coming up here on 3rd and short. Do they run it, or do they allow Schondelmeyer to make another play with his arm? Let's see.
Hansen's the back. Schondelmeyer getting his first collegiate experience in games this year. Hands it off. Luke Hansen drives down the left side, but he is well short. Got a yard, but not enough. And now this is right on the edge of field goal range for Dayton. See what they do after already converting a 4th down on this drive. And looks like the Flyer sideline is not even going to consider kicking here. Dayton goes again.
It was really good penetration that time by Jalen DeLeon, junior out of Cincinnati. Let's see what the Flyers do here on 4th down.
Saints bring the house. Handoff goes to Hansen, and he gets there. The big boys up front gave him the push, and Hansen gets the yardage necessary for a first down. He gains 3, and this long Flyers opening drive continues.
The middle of that Dayton offensive line is doing some really good work. Zachary McDowell doing good work at the guard position. Ben Hefner as well, the center. That proved to be the case on that play.
Hackett back in the game. It's a play fake. Pressure off the edge, and the throw over the middle falls short. There was some pursuit from the backside from Taj Meadows for Thomas Moore that may have influenced the pass for Bryce Schondelmeyer, who's a redshirt sophomore. Mentioned he transferred in from Youngstown State, but did not appear for the Penguins in a couple of seasons, and fueled a really interesting quarterback battle in the spring as Drew Van Vliet had an excellent year as the Flyers' primary starter last season. But to the surprise of many Flyer fans that didn't follow spring practice, did not have the job. Get a jump on the defensive line. And we will hear from our referee, Timothy Duffy, for the first time.
Offside, defense, number 52. 5-yard penalty, second down.
That penalty going against Trez Hopkins. What makes the quarterback competition interesting to me was that Schondelmeyer missed the second half of spring ball because of an illness. So you would have thought in that situation that would have put him behind, but he really caught up during fall camp.
And Fleet had almost 2,000 yards through the air last season for Dayton, but Schondelmeyer beat him out for the job, at least to begin the year. Handoff goes to Hackett. He gets close to the first, stopped just short. It was a Dayton offense that really looked to be in a good spot headed into this season. They returned their top couple of rushers. They returned their top passer, who now, as we've mentioned, is not starting at the moment. But Trevor Andrews did leave the door open when talking about the quarterback position, said Drew Van Vliet has handled things professionally, and he's ready for an opportunity that may come at some point this year.
They've been quite supportive, and more importantly, they have great attitudes about the situation.
Schondelmeyer on third down, hands it off. Hackett down the middle, gets right to the sticks, and picks up the first down.
This has been a very nice, methodical offensive drive for the Flyers. They had some big plays in the loss against Eastern Illinois in the passing game, but if you ask head coach Trevor Andrews, the offense that he would like to see for the Flyers going forward, grinded out yards, get it done on the ground, that sets up the play action and hopefully big plays down the field in the passing game.
You've got a lot of depth in that backfield and a lot of experience as well, and Dayton tries to lean on that a little more heavily here in week 2 after struggling to run the ball.
Timeout, Thomas Moore. Their
Thomas
first charge
Moore's
timeout
a little bit
of the half.
discombobulated, and
I think more than
Chris Norwell, calls the timeout.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think more than anything, that timeout is just so they can have a breather because they have been on the field for so long.
They've been beaten back on this first offensive drive, which has lasted half of the first quarter now. And this is kind of similar to what Dayton's defense had done to them last week. A lot of lengthy drives, a lot of tired legs as they got later into that game, as their defense spent a lot of time on the field. Dayton didn't even have 20 minutes of possession time last week, and so it's good to see from the Flyers side of things that they flipped the script a little bit and controlled the time of possession, at least early on.
I think it's going to be a while before Dayton sees a quarterback as talented as Cole LaCrue, who used to play for Luke Fickell up at Wisconsin, Big Ten country. He put on a clinic when it came to running the football. The offense, they've been moving the ball down the field. Now it's all about finishing. How are you going to be able to get the ball in the end zone?
Dayton struggled to punch it in, given some chances last week. High snap to Schondelmeyer. Hackett still churning the legs. He backs into the red zone and inside the 15. And Mason Hackett, the junior, picks up 6 on first down.
Well, we already talked about Hackett having good balance, but one thing that he worked on in the offseason, adding muscle, getting tougher, bounces off a tackler there, and then fights forward for a few more yards. Those yards after contact, they can add up to something really good in the run game.
Second down and 4. Hackett again. Worms down the left side and again got a nice crease and gets near the line to gain. Appears he's just short. It sets up a third down and short for the Flyers.
A lot of run plays on this offensive drive, and I don't think that's by any accident. I think Coach Andrews is wanting the Flyers to really have that run game get in gear from the very beginning. And so far on this drive, it's been paying off.
For Mason Hackett, he's already at where he was statistically for the entire game last week on the ground. Third down and 1. Handoff goes to Hansen, and he fights inside the 10 for a Dayton first down. And the Flyers are approaching 10 minutes on this opening drive as they have it goal to go.
Hansen was supposed to be the starter at running back for the Flyers, but then he got hurt. That provided an opportunity for Hackett to really take advantage of the situation to get some more playing time. 4th in the PFL in yards, 4th in yards per game. He really took advantage of the opportunity, and now the Flyers have a great 1-2 punch at running back.
From the 9, Schondelmeyer takes the snap, dishes it out to Hansen, but met immediately and dropped. That's a good tackle by Avery Bodner for Thomas Moore.
Sophomore from Danville, Kentucky, making a very nice open field tackle. Might have been a touchdown saving tackle.
He's one of their big special teams players last year. He had 2 blocked punts last season, including a block punt he returned for a touchdown. It's a Dayton team that knows a thing or two about blocks on special teams. They led all of FCS in blocked field goals last season. 2nd and goal. Hansen still in it back. He gets the carry and has nowhere to go. Swallowed up by Saints in the O-line. That goes for no gain. And this now turns into a really impressive chance for 4th-year DC Brad Zink and this Thomas More defense to come up with a goal line stand on an opening drive that has lasted nearly 11 minutes.
Yeah, he was swallowed up by the big man with a big name, Obadiah Commodore, the redshirt junior out of Lexington, Kentucky. Big play here for the Flyers.
Veteran who's appeared in every game the last 2 seasons. 3rd down, Schondelmeyer out wide, throw is low, and nowhere to go for Ethan Thulin on the screen. And we saw a couple of those misfires from Schondelmeyer last week. Again, he's got a couple years of college under his belt, but hadn't appeared in a game until last week.
I thought it was a good throw, but Thulin at the last minute looks like he slipped on the turf. And that prevents the Flyers from scoring a touchdown on that play, but still have an opportunity to put points on the board.
So settle for a short field goal in Robbie Smart, who nailed 2 PATs last week. This is from that kind of range, and it's no good. He hooked it left. And how about this Thomas More defense as the opening drive goes all the way down inside their 10, lasts nearly 12 minutes, and Dayton comes up empty.
Well, one sideline is absolutely elated, and then another sideline is extremely disappointed. First off, not being able to get the ball in the end zone because of the slip-up inside the 5-yard line, but then to not even to come up with 3 points at the end of what was a very, very long drive. I have to imagine that's a very unhappy Flyer sideline right now.
So now we see the Thomas More offense for the first time. And the handoff goes down the right side to Eli White, and he is spun around after a pickup of about 5 yards on first down. White had 191 yards on the ground and a couple of touchdowns last year, also a threat to catch passes through the air. 12 rushes for 33 yards last week in the loss to Southern Illinois. Already in the late stages of the first quarter. Sophomore quarterback Griffin Scalf looks to throw. Pressure coming immediately, gets it out quick, and the catch on the far sideline from Anthony Grossnickel. And really the first chunk play we have seen from either team as the senior from Chicago picks up the first down.
What a tremendous job of standing strong in the pocket and delivering it. There was great pressure coming off the edge that time, but he was able to hang in there and complete the pass.
Scalf had trouble with the interceptions last season, but was pretty efficient, all things considered, last week as Thomas More keeps it on the ground, and White again gets tripped up pretty much immediately. Scalf, a prolific high school player at a Cincinnati Anderson High School. First team All-Ohio as a senior, has his school's career and season passing records. Last week, 16 for 23 for 98 yards. Under center on 2nd and 9. Scalf hands it off, and White gets swallowed up immediately. That goes for no gain, and 3rd and long results for Thomas More.
Great pursuit that time by redshirt sophomore linebacker Sam Schmeese out of Piqua, Ohio. They are very high on this man. They think he's going to be a real asset for this Flyers defense. Got a lot of significant in-game experience last year, and he's supposed to be a leader of that Dayton D.
Thomas More also struggled on 3rd down last week. They were 2 for 13. Got to run one more play in the first quarter. Scalf's got options spread out wide. Gets rid of it quickly. It's Grossnickel again, and he's brought down in the open field. And now decision time the other way for first-year offensive coordinator Bill Garvey, as the Saints have a 4th and short coming up.
Cam Cope, redshirt junior out of the Queen City of Cincinnati, former LaSalle product. Great tackle in the open field. Prevents Thomas More from picking up the first down. And now the Saints will be punting it away.
Preseason All-Pioneer League selection, helping to lead this young defense that Trevor Andrews said played maybe more guys than really everybody was thinking last week in the game against Eastern Illinois. Thomas More brings the punt unit on, but they won't get it off before the first quarter comes to a close. And we are scoreless. Dayton set to get the ball back as we begin quarter number 2. And so the Flyers will take over following the punt after a lengthy first drive. And for Thomas More, not quite a 3 and out, but with a little bit of tempo. Their defense did not get a ton of time to rest on the sideline, maybe aided a little bit by this first quarter coming to an end. They've got to get right back to it.
Well, I can already tell you that that was a successful offensive drive for Thomas More, because last week they had trouble holding on to the football. 4 fumbles, 3 of them lost, not to mention 2 interceptions for a grand total of 5 turnovers in their 49-3 loss to number 20 Southern Illinois. By the way, opening up against a top 20 team, that's never any picnic for a team in week 1. But the fact that they were able to take care of the ball better, that bodes well for Thomas More.
Thomas More has been scheduling tough under Chris Norwell, former All-Big Ten lineman at Illinois. May know his brother Andrew was a 5-star O-lineman recruit, played at Ohio State.
I remember him, yeah.
An NFL career that lasted from 2014 to 2022. And since he has taken over at the helm of this Saints program, he's been on staff for a little while. They've gone from D3 to NAIA to now D2. This is their first season as a full Division II member, and he has been integral in scheduling a lot of Division I opponents. Mentioned Southern Illinois, a top 20 team in the FCS last week. And you start with back-to-back opponents out of D1 heading to Dayton. This is the first year of a 3-year scheduling agreement where Thomas More will head to Welcome Stadium to play the Flyers. Snap a little bit high, but Jackson Trombley gets it away, and Michael Masseri backs inside his own 15 to make the fair catch. And Dayton will take over 1st and 10 for the second time.
Well, it was a good offensive drive to begin the game for Dayton. Rolled up 5 first downs. Running game looked pretty good, but they stalled inside the 5 and then the missed field goal. So the Flyers clearly looking for a better result on this offensive drive. I liked how they moved the ball. Now it's just a question of can they finish.
Kicking game has been an issue. You could wipe all that away if you could just get the ball in the end zone. Both of those things troubling for Dayton last week. Handoff on first down goes to Hackett, and he gets forward for about 6 yards. Give him 7 on the gain, 2nd and 3.
We talked on the first drive about the quarterback competition, how Bryce Schondelmeyer was ultimately named the starter at quarterback. This is a guy that led Springfield all the way to the state championship game before they fell to Lakewood St. Edward in that final. Very good football program.
Started his high school career at Arcanum and then played his senior year for Springfield. Schondelmeyer on the screen finds Hackett, and he's brought down in the backfield. Schondelmeyer goes for a loss. And that's Tofa Luwani again sticking his nose in there for Thomas More.
We've seen a lot of good open field tackling in this game thus far.
Luwani, who played at Milford High School under Tom Grippa, a guy that has a lot of experience coaching in the collegiate ranks, most notably at Mount St. Joseph. He's part of a couple really good Milford teams over the last few years. 3rd down and 3 for the Flyers. Schondelmeyer goes over the middle. It's tipped and caught. And Laco held on. He got popped on the tail end of that. That pass was nearly intercepted. But for Gavin Laco, he's got the 1st down.
I don't know what was more impressive. The fact that Schondelmeyer was able to get that pass off with pressure screaming down his back, or the fact that Laco was able to make the catch on that play. Either way, results in a 1st down for the Flyers. Impressive play for Dayton.
Off the fingertips of linebacker Elijah Manning, who couldn't hang on for Thomas More. Dayton moves the chains. Schondelmeyer hands it off on the left side. Flag comes in late as Hackett picks up a few yards. But initial indication is this will come back.
Holding. Offense, number 86. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. 3rd down.
Not only is
Correction, 1st down.
Not only is Bryce Cowgill guilty, but they literally threw the flag at him. As if they couldn't make it more clear.
So that backs Dayton up a little bit after the 1st down. They're around where they started.
And this is not what you want to see offensively from Dayton as we get a replay of what ended up being the hold. Now Dayton's got to find a way to dig themselves out of this hole.
Schondelmeyer drops the snap. He picks it back up, but he's got 3 white jerseys in his face, and he is driven down. It is Luwani, of course, leading the charge for Thomas More. He has had a whale of a day so far, and Dayton is now way behind the sticks. 2nd down and 27 for the Flyers.
Can't blame it on the snap. Schondelmeyer simply could not catch the snap that time. And now a long ways to go if you want to pick up a 1st down here.
Haven't really seen Dayton go down the field much like they did with pretty good success last week. They'll try it for the 1st time, and there's a toe tap catch on the far sideline for Maseri, the Cincinnati transfer, who had a big Dayton debut last week with over 100 yards. He gets Dayton back near the original stick, still 3rd down and long, but if you could do that again, you'd move the chains.
You're at least giving your offense an interesting opportunity here. Got to protect him, though.
3rd down and 13. Schondelmeyer. Lets the play clock run all the way down. Eyes downfield with time. Back shoulder throw, a little bit short, and it's incomplete. Looking for Museri again, who ran a pretty good route. He found a bubble in that zone coverage right along the near sideline. Was right around the line to gain, but Dayton forced a punt for the 1st time.
I like the route. I like the route concept of that play, and Museri gave a great effort trying to make the catch that time, but just couldn't snag it there at the last minute.
Logan Forcom on to punt. Duncan Bradley back deep for Thomas More. Bradley dodges an initial tackle, and this is a nice return as he swung down just short of midfield. The high school teammate of Bryce Schondelmeyer at Springfield, Duncan Bradley, sets Thomas More up with good field position, and the Saints take over. 1st and 10 with just over 4 minutes gone in the 2nd quarter.
And boy, thank goodness Bennett Lawrence made that tackle for Dayton. Otherwise, that return could have gone for a lot more.
It's a pretty solid kick returner for Thomas More last year. Team that has always harped on special teams. And they're set up at the 49, and now they go with a little trick play. Deep down the middle of the field, the ball is underthrown and intercepted. Picked off by Vincent Ferenzi. And Thomas Moore tried to dip into the bag of tricks. There is a flag in the offensive backfield. But we will see if this stands.
What a great catch by Ferenzi.
Well, Colton Smith had a
Result
step
of the
on
play
him.
is an interception by Dayton. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. Thomas Moore, number 64. That 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run. First out.
It's on the center, Ryan Reynolds.
Well, we talked about how turnovers were a real nuisance for Thomas Moore last week. Now it rears its ugly head once again. Another interception for Griffin Scalf. And now you can start to feel the momentum, perhaps swing back the way of the Flyers. I understand what Thomas Moore was trying to do that time with the trick play. Credit the Dayton defense. They've had to replace a lot of starters from last year, but they did not fall for it. Leads to a turnover, and boy, what a great catch by Ferenzi. He didn't look like a defensive back that time. He looked like a wide receiver making that catch.
Played as a reserve, only got one start last season, but had a very good week last week with 9 tackles, and comes up with the pick. Former scout team DPOY for this Dayton team a couple years ago, making an impact on the field in game this year. And now a big run up the middle, as there goes Luke Hansen, still spinning away. He's finally cracked down well into Thomas Moore territory, and that big play ability for this Flyer offense finally shines through.
Good luck tackling Luke Hansen in the open field once he gets going. He has got such a strong lower half. Look at him spinning, breaking tackles. He definitely brings big playability in the run game.
They give it to him again, and he trucks through a couple defenders to get in the red zone. A 6-yard gain on first down as the Flyers pick up tempo for the first time.
And they got Thomas Moore's defense on its heels right now.
It's a defense that, again, has spent such little time on the sideline to begin this game. And off again goes places for Hansen. He's about a yard short.
And I don't think you need to get too cute here if you're the Dayton offense. Your run game has definitely been working on this particular drive. Keep on feeding those tailbacks.
Played just over 20 minutes in this game. Thomas Moore has only kept their defense off the field for about 3 of them. Dayton failed to punch it in last time they got here. They go to the reliable run game. This time it's Hackett who gets turned around but gets the yardage to the 13 for a Flyer first down.
Okay, so now you're back deep in enemy territory. You're knocking on the door. You had a long offensive drive that kind of stalled within the 5-yard line. They missed a field goal. This is where you need to pay things off that turnover.
Empty for Schondelmeyer. 2 touchdowns in his Flyer debut last week. Pressure from behind, throws to the far corner of the end zone, and he airmailed Laco. He was hand fighting on the far side. Some pretty good coverage provided back there.
Jafea Kennedy, senior linebacker out of Lexington. And you're right, it got a little handsy towards the end there. Kind of surprised that a flag wasn't thrown. I mean, there was a lot of contact between those two, but you move on to the next play.
2nd and 10. Carry for Hackett. Flag in as Hackett churns inside the 10-yard line. But the flag right in the thick of the offensive line. This could further stall Dayton's offense.
And that's the last thing they need right now. That they've had some great momentum on this offensive drive, and this will throw a monkey wrench into things.
Well, we'll see what this is actually.
Personal foul, illegal hands to the face. Defense, number 90. Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
It was in that holding type of spot, but those types of things can also happen in the trenches, and that aids Dayton to a first down.
Penalty going against Taj Meadows, redshirt sophomore out of Cincinnati. Attended Southern High School before taking his talents to the collegiate ranks.
You can see him on the right side of your screen. He's got a paw up into the cage. And that sits Dayton up from the 4. They've got both options in the backfield, and they stall a little bit.
False start, offense, number 56. 5-yard penalty, first down.
That goes the other way against Ryan Liams, the veteran right guard.
Oh, man, and I was really excited about what the Flyers were going to do on that offensive play because they had Gavin Locko, a former high school quarterback, lined up in some sort of wildcat formation. Was he going to run it? Was he going to throw it? Won't be able to see it now because of the penalty.
Now Schondelmeyer back in to take the snap. Handoff goes to Hackett. Edge is set, but he is brought down. Initially looked like he had a lane, but it was Elijah Manning that leaked through that blocking pattern on the edge for the Flyers to bring him down.
So now decision time with the play calling here. You got 2nd and goal from the 5-yard line, and it looks like they got Locko, the weapon, in the backfield.
So they try this wildcat again. Locko hands it off. Hackett through the middle. Stacked up. Gets to the 3. 3rd and goal from there for the Dayton offense.
I know your running game has really been working well on this particular drive, and I'm not too familiar with the mobility of Schondelmeyer, but it might not be a bad idea to try to get your quarterback out on the edge a little bit, give him a chance to run with the ball, and perhaps get those receivers open in the end zone on this play. Or they could just stick with the run game, which has been working for the most part this game.
Both of Dayton's scores last week from outside the red zone, they still have not punched one in from inside the red zone this year. Schondelmeyer looks to throw. Now he tucks and runs, and he is brought down. Schondelmeyer does not get there.
I got to look at this replay right here because, man, it looked like he had a path to the end zone. Does he slip here at the end? I think he slips on the turf right there just as he crosses the 5-yard line. Man, that's really unfortunate for the Flyers.
Marion transfer Malachi Sanders brings him down. Dayton keeps the offense on the field again. They've converted once in this game already. Schondelmeyer looks, still looking, and finds his man. It's Locko over the middle for a Dayton touchdown.
And there has got to be a big exhale on that Flyers sideline. Finally, we found pay dirt, and the reason we found pay dirt is because of our #1 offensive weapon, Gavin Locko.
Second touchdown of the year for Dayton's leading target through the air, and they finally got it in the end zone.
Very good protection on that last play. Gave Schondelmeyer plenty of time to survey the defense, and he was able to find Locko in the end zone in the end.
I want to correct, it's now the 3rd 4th down conversion for the Flyers as Robbie Smart knocks the PAT through, and Dayton finally is on the board and get another look at the touchdown pass.
Good play action. Credit Mason Hackett with a good block in the backfield. After taking the fake, he's able to give just enough time for his quarterback to throw thanks to a nice block there on the edge, able to find Locko. Oh, and now a Flyer down on the field.
That's Ben Hefner, the starting center for Dayton, who is down and getting attended to. It's a Dayton team that is a little bit banged up already, and that was part of the reason why it was such a revolving door of players that we saw in the game against Eastern Illinois last week.
And boy, this would be a big loss for the Flyers. They lost 3 starters from the offensive line last year. And this is one of the 2 guys that returned from last year. And you just hate to see injuries already starting to pile up for this Flyers team, not even 2 games into the season.
And that line has done such a great job. Dayton's already imposed their will, approaching 100 yards. But Hefner has to get helped off the field by a couple of his teammates on the O-line.
Oh boy, he's not even putting any weight on that right foot. Hopefully it's nothing too serious.
So you see, it looks like he may have tweaked something on the touchdown pass as he kind of turned around his right knee. So he heads off and will go to the medical tent for Dayton.
It's hard being a lineman. And boy, those guys are dressed like gladiators, aren't they? They have those braces on the knees, and you have to have the ankles taped up and all that stuff. But still, when you get twisted and turned like that amongst all those big bodies, man, that could really hurt.
And most teams at the high school and even at the collegiate level nowadays require their guys to wear 2 knee braces playing on the O-line because of things like that. But it's just unfortunate to see a player go down. Dayton, though, has got the lead. They're finally getting it in the end zone and scoring from inside the red zone for the first time this year, as the Flyer kick coverage team was all over that return. Josh Kennebrew goes nowhere. The Central State transfer dropped inside his own 20. And after Thomas Moore started the last drive just shy of midfield, they start this one backed up deep.
Taking a quick look at the scoring drive summary for the Flyers. 10 plays, 80 yards, 4:46 off the clock. And it was Schondelmeyer finding Laco in the back of the end zone for the first score of the day. Already 94 rushing yards on the day for the Flyers.
This comes after Dayton had just 31 yards on the ground against EIU last week, and their defensive front struggled to defend it on the other side. Done a much better job here. Scalf throws to the right side.
Did he catch that?
A tip drill catch.
Wow.
It's Colton Smith who hauls that in off his own deflection. And Scalf put that in the spot where only he could get it. What a catch to move the chains and give Thomas Moore some room to breathe.
Way to stick with it. Put one paw up, tip it to yourself, grab it with the other. Nice job.
Had 1 catch last week. That's a heck of a way to get his name on the sheet this time around. Pass to the edge finds Preston Agee, who's approaching 1,000 yards for his career in a Thomas Moore uniform. That goes for 7. Second down and 3 for the Saints. A big drive coming up. Thomas Moore has a chance to double dip coming out of halftime, set to get the ball. Hand off to White. Room to run, and White gets to the second level to pick up the first down.
Sam Schmeese making the tackle for the Flyers on that play. Could have gone for a lot more. I've been really impressed with these ball carriers, these receivers for Thomas Moore. They have brought their A game so far.
White moves the chains. Thomas Moore's got 2 timeouts left to work with. Pitch to White. Gets down the left side. White crashes out of bounds into plus territory. And Thomas Moore is on the move into the Dayton end of the field.
Big push up front by that Thomas Moore offense. Cam Wheel, the left tackle. Nick Frischi, the left guard, with a big push on the left side of that offensive line. And that opens up a big hole for White, who takes advantage of it.
Inside 4 minutes to go, first half. Dayton has controlled the game, but not really dominated it so far, as that pass just goes over the head of the intended target. That was AG.
Well, it's kind of hard to make a catch when you have Cam Cope bearing down on you like that. Let's be honest.
Heard some footsteps. Looked like he may have tripped and fell as well, as the footing for a lot of these guys has seemed a little bit off in this first half. We've seen a lot of slippage.
For both teams, the turf here at Welcome Stadium, sometimes not the friendliest of turf here in the PFL.
White on the carry. Up ahead for a mid-sized pickup. Sets up a manageable third down for the Saints.
I really like what White is doing in the run game for Thomas More. He's taking advantage of the opportunities presented to him. He finds a hole. He runs it up in there. He's not afraid to fight through contact as well. He's giving this Thomas More offense a chance and putting them in good positions in later down, second down, third down, like this one upcoming.
3rd and 6. They're trying to move the chains on third down for the first time. Pitch it to White. He gets forward and he gets rocked at the second level. That's Ferenzi, who had the interception earlier. He lays a huge hit on White to stonewall him 3 yards short.
That is what I like to call laying the wood. He just stopped him dead in his tracks right there. So not only can he be an asset for this Flyers defense defending the pass, but man, he can come up big in run situations as well.
Well, Chris Norwell's offense hasn't had the ball in their hands for very much of this first half, and so why not roll the dice here? You're not in field goal range. No sense punting in this spot. Thomas More set to go. They were 1 for 1 last week. Throw goes over the middle. It's off the hands of Duncan Bradley and incomplete.
Josh Williams, redshirt sophomore out of Dayton, former Wayne product, sticking his nose in there defensively. It's a good throw. Probably should have been a catch right there, but the Flyers dodge a bullet.
Bradley, the leading returning receiver for Thomas More, still yet to pick up his first catch. And now Dayton's got decent field position to try and go up 2 scores before the half.
You got all 3 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning. Plenty of time to work the ball down the field and get another score before the half.
Schondelmeyer to the outside. Laco. It's out near the 45.
And I like the start of this drive. Quick pass over to the sideline, makes the catch, immediately goes out of bounds and conserves more of that time that you'll need if you want to score on this drive.
We have seen Dayton try to build some confidence in their quarterback with those quick throws. Schondelmeyer with time this time, and he drops it in the bucket for Laco into Thomas More territory. He's driven out of bounds by Christian Rice at the 32-yard line.
Very impressive
This
job.
is the 2-minute timeout.
Very impressive job by Schondelmeyer. Standing in there, takes a hit, but like you said, drops it in the bucket. Great accuracy on that throw, and a big play in the Flyer passing game.
That brings us to the 2-minute timeout. And now Dayton can really slow things down here with just 32 yards to the end zone. They're up 7-0. They've imposed their will a little bit up front, but again, like last week, they struggled to cash in early after an offensive drive that lasted roughly 12 minutes. They missed a field goal from inside of 30 yards. And it was just a little bit of a slog. You really feel like this game would be in a lot different situation had Dayton not punched it in on 4th and goal to get the touchdown, as Thomas More would have felt very good about what their defense had done in this first half on the road. They likely still feel that way, but you at least have a little bit of room to breathe, and now a chance to go up 2 scores for Dayton.
It's been a good day for Schondelmeyer, 11 of 14 through the air for 80 yards and a score. And Dayton already approaching 100 yards rushing as a team. Again, it's all about finishing. I think that this game would have a different feeling if the Flyers had finished off that first offensive drive that seemed to go on forever, but stalled, and then the missed field goal at the end. But Flyers have a chance here to go up by double digits if they can find pay dirt once again.
Pressure coming. Schondelmeyer over the middle, a little bit high. And Verbancic can't bring it in.
And the Flyers are expecting Don Verbancic to make plays like that over the middle with those long arms of his. Great effort, just could not snag it there. But he's not afraid of going over the middle.
Had his first catch of the season earlier today. Schondelmeyer again to the air. Tight window, but there's a catch for Cowgill. The tight end picks up 4 yards, and it's 3rd down and 6. In this area of the field, when things have gotten packed in a little bit closer to the end zone, has been so tough on this Dayton offense. They go quick, and Schondelmeyer is swallowed up. Obadiah Commodore got back there to bring him down. That puts Dayton behind the sticks, and now this is a really tough situation. Trevor Andrews calls timeout with 1:26 to go. So it'd be about a 51-yard field goal from here, and that was just the one thing that could not happen for the Flyers, who now face 4th and 12.
Second time today that we've seen Commodore just shoot through that defense, that offensive line for Dayton and make a play right there. And boy, Schondelmeyer just didn't even have time to react or try to run away from him. He was here to there like that. Interesting part of the field right here. You got 1:26 to go. But you've already seen early on in the season the Flyers struggling with their field goal unit. Now, they have 2 different kickers on this team. We saw Robbie Smart earlier. He works the shorter field goals, and then for the real big long ones, they've been relying upon David Maurer. But I feel like the Flyers right now are kind of in no man's land. You're facing a 4th and 12. Boy, this is going to be a really interesting decision for Trevor Andrews and his staff.
This is a long field goal. Maurer tried one from 50-plus last week. It got blocked. But that at least shows that Trevor Andrews has some confidence in his long kicking game to go at it from here. You would have a pretty big tailwind as well if you decided to kick, but Dayton brings the offense onto the field.
Well, if you're wanting to have any chance of converting this, you got to give Schondelmeyer time to find those receivers downfield.
4th down and 12. Dayton's perfect on 4th down in this game. Only 3-man rush. The throw up the near hash is caught. Laco off the edges of his fingers somehow glued that football, and it's a 1st down for Dayton. They try to go quick, and Thomas Moore stops them, calling timeout.
Timeout, Thomas Moore. Their second charge timeout of the half.
For the life of me, I don't know how Laco was able to make that catch. He had to jump up, and just as he was making the catch, he had senior defensive back Alex Castrucci all over him. And I mean all over him. As we take a look at another play here, he almost gets flipped upside down. And then he falls to the turf, and then he has the wherewithal to clutch the ball against his body. Man, what an acrobatic catch. You have got to have some chutzpah going over the middle, because you're going to get your clock cleaned sometimes. But credit Laco for making a tremendous catch right there. Big-time conversion for the Flyer offense.
Plays some mid-air twister to pick up 18 as we get one more look.
I mean, he has to turn around to catch it on his fingertips, like you said. Then he's got a defensive back bearing down on him, and then he has to secure the catch as he goes to the turf. Wow.
Schondelmeyer with a fresh set of downs, hands it off, and Hansen dodges the first tackle, lowers the shoulder. He's fighting with Avery Bodner inside the 10. Gets down to the 9-yard line. Flyers still have 2 timeouts as we churn under a minute to go. And they pick it up, 2nd down and short.
No need to rush here. Go through the play call and operate the offense.
Schondelmeyer looking to the air. Pressure coming. He goes to his target, and it is caught in the back corner of the end zone by Laco. Very little real estate to deal with, but a toe tap catch and a perfect throw from Schondelmeyer. And Laco is in the end zone again, as Dayton's got 2 TDs in the first half.
Boy, this guy is putting on an exhibition when it comes to catching the football today. after making a spectacular grab over the middle, makes the catch in the back corner of the end zone. Wow, Gavin Locko is having a day.
Smart drives the PAT through. Took just a minute 39 for Dayton to go 62 yards. And Locko picks up his second touchdown connection with Bryce Schondelmeyer of the game. As we get another look at that rainbow. Great throw, by the way, by Dayton's first-year quarterback.
Good protection up front. And yeah, Schondelmeyer just has a way of throwing the football. We saw him earlier in the game drop one in the bucket on a deep pass along the sideline, and he's able to do the same thing in the back of the end zone. And boy, Locko making 2 clutch catches on that drive for the Flyers.
We saw Dayton really cut it loose down the field last week to pick up some big touchdowns. That wasn't as long, but you still see that ability to just get it over the top for Schondelmeyer. Thomas More set to get this back. They've got 1 timeout left if they want to try and blaze down the field.
Man, just what a way to cap off that drive. 8 plays, 62 yards, a minute 39 off the clock. Schondelmeyer find Locko once again. And they were able to do that under 2 minutes to go. Very efficient offensive drive, keyed by some big plays in the passing game.
Dayton set to kick this one away. And again, despite that early momentum shifting drive that comes up just short of the end zone, you miss a short field goal. Dayton has converted a key 4th down to punch it in, and also now scored right before the break to really put together a nice body of work for the Flyer offense in the first half.
They're feeling pretty good right now, but there's still some time on the clock. It's going to be interesting to see how aggressive Thomas More is offensively. Do they just want to simply down it, go to the locker room at halftime, or do they want to try to be a little aggressive here with a couple of timeouts still at their disposal?
Again, they do get the ball out of the break. Fair catch called for and made by Josh Kennebrew. It's a touchback. And now we see the Thomas More offense. Griffin Scalf in the first half. 4 for 7 for 41 yards through an interception on the trick play. And now we wait the decision for the Thomas More offense.
When given time, Scalf has looked pretty confident in the pocket. If Thomas More is wanting to push the ball down the field, they got to be able to protect him up front, which means that Dayton has got to be ready to bring that pressure.
They line up in the gun. The interception, really the only time we've seen Thomas More go really deep down the field. They work it to the outside, and a few yards available as Thomas More gets the clock stopped as well, with Josh Kennebrew heading out of bounds. Central State transfer goes out after a gain of 7. 37 seconds remain. And now they just keep it on the ground. Eli White's been pretty good when he's gotten carries, and he picks up the first down here. That stops the clock with a little less than 30 seconds to go. Luke Iden's long is 48 yards, so you still got a ways to go. If you could get to around the 31 for Thomas More, they do pick up tempo a little bit as the throw goes to the far side, and good coverage provided as the throw went into a double. Cam Cope back there for the Flyers, who led the team in pass deflections last season and influenced that one.
We've already called Cope's name a couple times today. So good in coverage for this Flyers defense.
Now with just 16 seconds to go, not as much time for Thomas More to rip this down the field, hoping to get in field goal range.
If they're going to throw a bomb, this might be the time to try to push it down the field.
But instead, Scalf gets swallowed up. The ball is out. He did move his arm forward, so it's incomplete. Flag comes in. This is probably grounding on Griffin Scalf, who was going to the turf as the pressure came immediately. Had his eyes downfield, then shifted to the run. And Scalfa, young quarterback who we've mentioned, has had a little bit of an issue holding on to the football. Probably going to get coached at halftime. Just say, eat that and go to the ground at this point with just 10 seconds left deep in your own territory.
Great pressure applied by Colin Ansel, redshirt sophomore out of Columbus.
While the clock was running, intentional grounding. Offense, number 10. Spot foul. Third down. This penalty includes a 10-second runoff. This is the end of the half.
So the penalty includes a runoff, and that, as referee Timothy Duffy said, wraps up our first half. So Dayton gets a couple of scores, and the Flyers really turned things around from last week. They struggled to run the ball in week 1. They go for 95 yards on the ground, and Gavin Lacos putting on a show through the air with his first-year teammate and Bryce Schondelmeyer, 2 touchdowns through the air for Dayton, and they lead it 14-0 as we head to the half. Time for the Flyer Band in your halftime show. Enjoy it. Charlie and I back for half number 2 in just about 20 minutes' time. Stay with us from Welcome Stadium and Flyer Football here on YouTube.
The University of Dayton Marching Band is under the direction of Kenneth Will. The assistant director is James Leslie. The color guard coordinator is Sarah Hoffman. Our drum majors are Max Drexler, Daphne Loppersweiler, and Ashley Muir. Our CEO is Rachel Gluberman, and assistants are Trent Lucan and Gavin Ryder. Students, alumni, family, and friends, the University of Dayton is proud to present the Pride of Dayton. From boys to men to the Backstreet Boys, today we're bringing back the era of boy bands. Here is NSYNC's Tearing Up My Heart. Pod brings a blue-collar attitude to work every single day, and the harder we work, the harder we play. There's no greater example of that than cameos talking out the side of your neck. Ladies and gentlemen, the pride of Dayton.
We are back for the second half. Dayton leading Thomas More 14-0 at the break. Alongside Charlie Danis, Luke Westpoli with you. Rest of our great crew here for another season of Flyer football in its new home on YouTube. Glad that you could join us. Dayton started off well. Drive lasted over 12 minutes. Flyers got all the way into the red zone, but it was there, Charlie, where the Thomas More defense really dug their heels in, and they made it tough on Dayton's offensive half of the field on the Flyers all first half.
The run game looked very impressive to begin that drive, but yeah, stalled with inside the 5-yard line. You see the missed field goal there, and Thomas More kind of had a little bit of a confident start offensively, kind of stalled. You see the great ricochet there. Flyer receivers making some big plays. We'll show a big one here later on. But kind of a rough start for the Flyers offense after that impressive drive. Big play right there by Ferenzi, getting the interception, and then a really good offensive drive here, keyed by a big run by Luke Hansen. He, along with Mason Hackett, are going to be a great 1-2 punch coming out of the backfield for the Flyers. And they were finally able to finish off the drive thanks to this nice toss to Laco. And then later on in the half, actually, as we see another replay of that play right there, and great catch right there. One of the highlights of the game right there for Thomas More. But then another great drive for the Flyers here.
And Dayton would take it down the field, highlighted by another great catch by Gavin Laco. And how about a second one on the drive in the back corner of the end zone? He hooked up twice with Bryce Schondelmeyer for touchdowns in the first half, ended up with over 60 yards passing and had over half of Dayton's targets through the air in half number one. As we take a look at some stats, and Charlie, really encouraging to see that number on your screen, 95 rushing yards for Dayton after they really struggled with the ground game last week.
They have gotten the run game into gear today. Also 111 passing yards on the day. Schondelmeyer going 13 of 17 for 93 yards and a couple of scores. The Flyers have had to work on these drives today. 4 of 10 on third down. But, Luke, I think the key stat from that first half, a perfect 4 of 4 on fourth down conversions. Those have been really key for the Flyers this afternoon.
Again, it's a first half on the Thomas More side where they feel like they did a lot of good things. They made it very difficult on Dayton. They got the missed field goal after a long, arduous drive for their defense. But a couple of key fourth down stops could have really turned the tide in this game, and Dayton got some clutch conversions. Thomas More has a chance, though, to answer out of the break as they get the kickoff.
And Thomas More, quite frankly, they just haven't had a lot of opportunities offensively. In that first half alone, Dayton, 22 minutes and 8 seconds of time with the ball, only 7:52 for Thomas More.
And again, that is a far, far cry from what happened for the Flyers last week. They only controlled possession for 19 minutes and 43 seconds for the game against Eastern Illinois. Their defense has been much more rested this week, and that has certainly helped out a lot as they have controlled this game throughout the opening 30 minutes.
Well, if you're Thomas More here, you're just wanting to piece together a good offensive drive to begin the second half. If you're the Flyers, you're trying to set the tempo defensively, and you're trying to get that offense back onto the field so they can ground and pound this Thomas More defense some more.
Kickoff is knelt in the end zone, and Thomas More is set to start from their own 25-yard line for the Saints. Griffin Scow, 5-9 through the air for 48 yards. They've got 35 yards on the ground as well, and much like their defense really did some good things, but we just haven't seen them with the ball a lot, and they've got a chance to really make a statement out of the break.
The interception hurt. That led to some points for the Flyers. I feel like Scalf is one of those quarterbacks that you give him time to throw, you let him set his feet, he can make some plays with his arms, and I really like the running of Eli White as well. He had some nice moments running the football. Now it's just a question of Thomas More sustaining those drives and possibly finishing them at the end.
Scalf starts the half with a throw to the far side. It's Grossnickel who makes the catch. He was their leading receiver in the first half. And he picks up 4 on first down.
And I think he wanted to get more yardage out of that. We talked a lot in the first half about players slipping and sliding on this turf. Maybe if he makes that turn a little bit quicker, he's able to head upfield and get more yardage.
Grossnickel is looking to take a leading receiver type of role. Limited playing time in his 2 years at Thomas More after he started at Tiffin but did not play for the Dragons. Pitch on second down goes to White, and he gets out to the 30-yard line. Sets up a 3rd down and 5 for the Saints. And they were 0 for 2 on 3rd down in the first half.
And the tackle made by Mirko Yakshis, redshirt sophomore defensive tackle out of Norwich, Illinois. He really came on strong for the Flyers. Fought his way up the depth chart, and he is going to be a big-time contributor for the Flyers along that defensive line.
Former Illinois state champ in 2021 at Fenwick High School. Design roll for Scalf. He sidearm slings it to avoid the sack. And a pretty good heads-up play as it glances off the hands of White and falls incomplete, but you avoid the negative play on 3rd down. How about this pass rush, though, for the Flyers as Elliott Braun led the charge up the middle.
This time it's the redshirt junior from the gem city of Dayton, Ohio, former Carroll High School product, knifing his way in there, getting pressure on the quarterback, and just like that, Thomas More has to punt the football away.
Michael Masseri back deep for Dayton. They bring the house and they nearly block it. Punt takes a Thomas More hop and spins sideways. Saints touch it up at the 28-yard line. But this was a Flyer special teams unit that caused a lot of chaos last year. Again, they led all of FCS in field goal blocks. And they really brought it there, try to get a big play right out of halftime.
If you can get a big play on special teams, whether it be a block kick or a return, makes things so much easier, allows you to flip the field, possibly leads to scoring opportunities. The Flyers were able to do that a lot last year, and hopefully more of the same here in 2025.
Schondelmeyer in his welcome stadium debut for the Flyers hands it off on first down, and Hackett finds a wrinkle down the left side for a couple of yards.
And something to look out for in this second half, the state of that Dayton offensive line. Ben Hefner, he was the one that got hurt in the first half, so now Lucas Shalal moves up at the starting center position. It'll be interesting to see how that affects the flow of the offense going forward.
Second down, another handoff, and now a pretty nice sized hole for Hackett, but it closes in a hurry. Gets out to the 35, sets up a 3rd down and 2 for the Flyers. You know, they handled things pretty well. Only one procedural penalty in the first. There was a fumbled snap, but not a bad snap by any means. It went right off Schondelmeyer's hands. Now you've got a backup center in play, though. See how that affects things moving forward for the Dayton offense and Flyer team in general that has been very banged up through the opening now 2 weeks of the season.
They're just wanting to keep players on the field at this point.
Had to go to a lot of different avenues. He's tested the depth of this team early. On 3rd down, Hackett goes up the middle and did not get there. Swallowed up by Malachi Sanders. The former Fairfield High School star in the Cincinnati area makes the stop after a gain of 1. Dayton is short, and Trevor Andrews brings on his punt team.
Right decision to punt the football away. Yeah, and that was just a case of a guy getting free from a block and making the tackle when his team needed it the most.
So here's the preseason All-League punter Logan Forcum. Gets rid of it. Fair catch is called for, but the punt is muffed and Dayton gets on it. We got flags as now there's some extracurriculars with a Flyer. That's Austin Yeager that came flying in there and got kind of ripped off the pile. But you see the fair catch called for by Christian Rice, and Jake Putoff came in for Thomas More with the extracurriculars, you could see. Oh, beg your pardon, for the Saints, rather, that is Taj Meadows. But the referees have to discuss this because on one hand, if you're Austin Yeager, not really supposed to get into the
result
pile
of the play
like
is
that.
recovery by the kicking team.
But
After
then
the
some
play,
retaliation.
unsportsmanlike conduct, receiving team number 90. Half the distance of the goal, automatic first down.
So Yeager gets out unpenalized, and now Dayton has really good field position following the muff punt.
That is number 90's first UNS towards ejection.
The Saints struggled with turnovers last week. 5 turnovers for Thomas More. And that last to Southern Illinois. And now their second turnover of the game. And now the Flyers with a golden opportunity here to capitalize off of another Saints mistake.
Lawrence Day recovered it for the Flyers. And that sets Dayton up from the 11-yard line. Pitch to Hansen. Around the end, a stiff arm towards the pylon, and he is just short. As he tiptoed up the chalk, they mark him at the 3-yard line.
Well, obviously we're way up here and they're way down there, but if I could get another look at the replay, maybe if Hansen just reaches out a little bit, he might have had a shot at making the ball touch the pylon, and that would have resulted in a score right there.
Still very manageable for Dayton inside the 5. Schondelmeyer hands it. Hansen gets to the 2. That should be enough for a first down. As we get another look at this play.
Still in bounds inside the 5.
Tough play, maybe could have reached that out, but in an early down situation, probably just protecting the football there. They mark him actually inches shy of the marker, so it's 3rd down. And Dayton just needs a couple of feet if they want a fresh set of downs, but might also be thinking end zone here. It's Hansen again, and he is through. Luke Hansen's first touchdown of the year for the Flyers, and they capitalize off the muff punt. Not wasting any time. Dayton goes up 3 scores.
The Flyers have been facing all sorts of short yardage situations, and once again, they come out on top. Great blocking up front. As we take a look at the replay, they bring the tight end around, opens up a big hole, and Hansen does the rest. Touchdown, Flyers.
Hansen has really grabbed his opportunity and run with it in this game. PAT driven right through. And how about the day for Luke Hansen, who had just 27 yards on the ground last week. Here in week 2, it's a different story. 11 carries, 74 yards, and a touchdown. He punches Dayton in on the short drive. They needed just 11 yards, and he's in the end zone for the first time this year.
We were talking with Dayton Sports Information Director Ross Baginski about the prospects of this team and what they like to do offensively, and he was telling us that they really like to run that inside zone play where they bring the tight end around and you get the offensive linemen really doing their thing in the run game. That was a thing of beauty. 3 plays, 11 yards, and only 1:18 off the clock. Of course, the Flyers didn't have to cover all that much ground after the muff punt by Thomas More. And boy, if you're the Saints, you really got to be kicking yourselves, because despite being down 21-0, you feel like that you just hung in there, that you played a really good game. But once again, those turnovers, when you have your defense backed up against a wall like that, it's really tough.
You couple that with the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty that cut the distance in half for Dayton. And that is a tough pair of mistakes to deal with for Thomas More, who find themselves in an uphill battle in the 3rd. Returnable kick for Kennebrew. Gets past the first tackler, won't get by the second. Good special teams play by Griffin Surin, the true freshman, who makes the stop inside Thomas Moore's 20-yard line.
Good special teams tackle there. Okay, this game is far from over. If you're Dayton, you got to keep up that intensity. And this is now desperation time for Thomas More. The Saints are wanting to make a big play to get back in this thing offensively. We've already seen a couple of turnovers. Do they start taking chances throwing the ball down the field?
Scalf in the eye. Hand off to White. Bit of a push, and he gets out to the 21. 60 yards on the ground out of an 191-yard performance for the Thomas More offense last week. In this game, they've got a little over 40 yards now with the running game. We've seen some chunk runs, but you could say a job pretty well done by this Flyer defense that allowed 336 rushing yards to EIU last week. This time through the air for Agee on the screen, and he's bottled up.
More like slammed to the ground by guess who? Vincent Ferenzi. Boy, the redshirt sophomore from Syracuse, New York. Already with an interception. Saw him deliver a big hit late in that first half. And here he comes downhill, locates the ball carrier, and just pops him right there.
It's been the heavy hitter for this Dayton defense. 3rd down and 4 for Thomas More. They're 0 for 3 this afternoon. Scalf, designed roll with time, it's batted down. And it's Ferenzi again, who sticks his nose in there. Pass knocked away, and Josh Grambo in on that stop as well for Dayton. As the two couple for the deflection, no chance for Thomas More, goes 3 and out.
Sometimes all you have to do is just put a hand up, block the pass that time. Ferenzi doing a little bit of everything for this Flyers defense. He's had a very good day here at Welcome Stadium.
Dayton again nearly gets home. Punt is away. Maseri makes the fair catch at the 39. And you've got a chance to really put your foot on the gas in this offensive drive now for Dayton.
Luke, while we have a moment, a couple scorers around the PFL. Butler leading Truman State 7-0. Halfway through the first quarter of that one, Butler with a new head coach, and Kevin Lynch, who was a longtime assistant at Ball State. And Marist trailing Bucknell 10-0 as that game has just gotten underway. Marist went 1-10 last year. Red Fox is looking for better results here in 2025.
Handoff goes to Hackett, who picks up a yard on first down. A lot of new head coaches in the Pioneer League. Mike Yurimovich departed Butler for the Ball State job as he moved up to the FBS level to coach the Cardinals in the MAC. Trevor Andrews now in his 3rd year coaching at his alma mater. This is Hansen, patient run and some toughness on the tail end as he crashes up to the 47-yard line.
Good run by Hansen that time. And going back to all the coaching changes, think about this, an 11-team conference, almost half of the head coaching positions change. That is a lot of turnover in 1 year. And maybe because of those rookie head coaches, those new staffs, those rebuilding projects, the Flyers will be able to take advantage of that by the time they get the PFL play.
Dayton picked 5th in the preseason in the Pioneer League. Handoff goes backwards this time for Hansen. Good work up front from Thomas More. As Toto Luwani made the stop for the Saints, brother of his high school and college teammate Tofa. 4th down for Dayton, and the punt team comes out.
Well, again, a good stop by the Thomas More defense, but now can their special teams do what they're supposed to do, catch this upcoming punt? We know that it ended in disaster the last time they tried to catch a punt, and the Flyers were able to convert that into more points.
Boot is away, sent towards the sideline, and this sets up perfectly. Fantastic punt by Logan Forkham, as that ball took a straight line bounce up the sideline, and Dayton touches it up at the 13. And the Flyers continue to win the field position battle. Really the only time Thomas More has been set up in a good spot was when they were just shy of midfield and promptly threw an interception that set up a Dayton touchdown.
When you are a punter and you get a roll like that along the sideline, you can't help but be happy.
So 1st and 10 for the Thomas More offense. They got the stop they were looking for. They got a long way to go. Pressure coming. Scalf hit as he throws. And that pass nearly intercepted, just out of reach for Mac Grant III as it flies incomplete. 2nd down.
Flyers have had to do some reshuffling in their secondary due to injuries. Mac Grant III getting an opportunity to play out there. Next man up.
Scalf was looking for Kennebrew and nearly a disastrous turnover. Dayton brings pressure again. Scalf just no time. He eyed Kennebrew again, but misfires. And just like that, it's 3rd and long.
Nice job by Sam Schmeezy, knifing his way in there defensively. And now another 3rd and long situation for the Saints. A spot that they have really struggled in. On the flip side, you got to love how the Flyer defense has played these 3rd down, 4th down situations against the Saints this afternoon. Very promising from a group that lost a lot of stars from last year and has had to insert a lot of young guys into a defense that has very high expectations.
8 new defensive starters for Dayton this year. They're 5 of 5, stopping Thomas More on 3rd and 4th down. Saints try again, throw up the near sideline, through some hand fighting. Agee's got it, and he picks up the 1st down.
That is an impressive catch along the sideline. Falling backwards, making the catch. Seeing the throw along the sideline right there. That's about as great as coverage as you can get for Cam Cope. Sometimes the catch is just better.
Tight window, and Agee, the Northern Kentucky product at a Covington Catholic, hauls it in. First down, and Bradley catches the screen and gets out of the first tackle. Duncan Bradley up the far sideline, dropped after picking up about 12 yards. And Thomas Moore's on the move.
He does a nice job of breaking a tackle. Teron Spencer Jr., sophomore out of Pataskala, trying to make the play there, but simply whiffs on the tackle. That leads to a big play for Thomas More. And slowly but surely, they're moving up the field.
Scalf over the middle. It's off the hands and incomplete. That was Grant again, who saw that split the 1-0 on his jersey, but just couldn't hang on.
You only get so many opportunities as a defensive back to potentially pick off a pass right there, and that's got to be really frustrating for Mac right there, but I'm sure he'll be getting more opportunities as the season goes on.
Already called his name twice on this drive. 2nd and 10. Scalf hands it off. This is Demetric Welsh around the far side. And he picks up enough to get close to the sticks. Welch, who had about a quarter of the carries last week. That's his first touch this afternoon. He gets 7, and it's 3rd and 3.
I guarantee you when the Flyers defense goes back and look at the film, they're going to circle that particular play as, guys, we got to do a better job of securing the edge. Allowing plays like that leads to 3rd and short situations when really that should have been just a 1 or 2 yard game.
3rd down and 3. Thomas More coming off their first conversion. But now a timeout.
Timeout. Thomas More, their first charge timeout of the half.
So the Saints want to talk it over. Just under 5 minutes to play, 3rd quarter. And Dayton has opened this up a bit at 21-0. Bye week coming up for the Flyers next week. They will go to Moon Township after that to take on Robert Morris. PFL play begins the following week here against the Stetson Hatters, also under a new head coach.
Not a real big fan of the early season bye weeks. A bye week should be in the middle of the season. Give your guys a chance to rest up. I understand it's part of the whole scheduling thing for different teams, but I never really quite understood why you have to fit a bye week that early into the season rather than trying to stick it in the middle.
Yeah, there's some mixed reviews on it, certainly. Dayton will get one more bye week later on in the year following the San Diego game. Long West Coast road trip on November 1st. Scalf rolls on 3rd down, and he's got the first down. Athleticism from the sophomore quarterback who dives across midfield to get Thomas More into Dayton territory, and they move the chains.
Scalf says, guys, just let me do it myself. Let me run it up here in the middle, breaks a couple tackles, picks up the first down. Gotta love a quarterback who's willing to give up his body like that and try to bang it through to pick up a first down.
Scalf, who had a rushing touchdown last year. He doesn't run a ton, but he can when he needs to. Goes under center on 1st and 10. Hand off to Grossnickel. Met in the backfield and dropped. Sam Schmiesen gets back there for the TFL. And that is a 2-yard loss.
Now that is what I called getting to the edge. Schmiesen, excellent job reading the play right there, understanding his gap responsibility, and finishing the tackle at the end.
Puts Thomas More behind the sticks. And now Trevor Andrews doesn't like the look.
Timeout. Dayton, their first charge timeout of the half.
So Dayton spends one. 21-0 Flyers, and Thomas More behind the sticks, and a crucial drive in the late stages of the 3rd quarter. But looking ahead a little bit for Thomas More, regardless of what even happens on this drive, which is all but guaranteed now with them behind the chains, got to figure out a way to stop this Dayton rushing attack as you move into the 4th quarter.
This is a Thomas More program that recently became a new member of Division II, and there's been a ton of things happening at Thomas More recently. They have built a new academic center. They upgraded the softball complex, renovated the football field, partnered with the Florence Yalls, the professional baseball team down in Kentucky, with a new home field for the baseball team. They have raised tens of millions of dollars over the last few years to make that transition to the Division II level.
Scalf to the far side. Oh, a great catch by Grossnickel through contact, and he picks up the first.
Teron Spencer Jr. tried to make a play on the ball for that Flyer defense, but the catch is made, and another big conversion for this Saints offense.
That is a great throw by Scalf. And Thomas Moore's back in business on this drive. It's a reverse. Bradley fights through contact. Flags come in late as he picks up about 5.
This might just go on the quarterback. Gonna have to check the penalty. Thomas More trying a little razzle-dazzle on that play, but like you said, I think this one is coming back.
Illegal block at the back. Offense, number 71. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. Second down.
They get the left tackle, Cam Weil, and that brings the trick play back.
Quarterback was doing a little bit of blocking on that play, and oh boy, this has been a productive drive to this point for the Saints.
There you see on the tail end, it sets up the last couple of yards. Again, it's Mac Grant. Thomas Moore, meanwhile, keeps it on the ground, and Eli White's got a hole. Stiff arms his way inside the 30 and wrapped up finally near the first down marker as he picks up 18. Javon Brooks finally makes the tackle for the Flyers.
And had it not been for that tackle by Brooks, I think we'd be talking about a rushing touchdown. He had a convoy of teammates running with him down the sideline, ready to set blocks for him.
Play fake. Scalf looking deep to the end zone. Grossnickel. Incomplete. He was forced out of bounds as that ball was picked off, but not in the field of play, as Teron Spencer Jr. made a play on the football, but the physicality just brought the two out of bounds.
Boy, how many times have we called Spencer's name on this drive alone? He's been very involved for the Flyers defensively. Great play, just didn't have enough room for the potential toe tap to complete the interception.
So 3rd down and 1 for Thomas Moore.
I'll be very surprised if this is anything other than a run.
Run out of the eye. White pushes forward. He's close.
This is going to be very close. I think he might be a half yard short.
Joe Kingsbury with the tackle, and ball is spotted short. So you see Kingsbury, who's had very limited playing time the last couple seasons, just stops White in his tracks. Thomas Moore on 4th down goes, and White has the first down.
Bennett Lawrence tried. He tried making the stop right there for the Flyer defense, but another solid run that time as Thomas Moore is able to pick up another first down.
They approach the red zone, and they move the chains again. And how about this Thomas Moore offense and their ability to get through some adversity on this drive? They have found themselves behind the chains a lot, and it has not mattered yet. Scalf with a fresh set of downs and time. He goes over the middle to White. He makes the catch at the 18, and that brings us to the end of the 3rd quarter. So Dayton leads it 21-0, but Thomas Moore's offense shows its most promise all day. They're knocking on the door as we start the 4th when we come back. Stay with us. It's Dayton football here on YouTube.
Flyer fans, it's time to get on your feet. The cheer team is giving out freezing out those pizzas and throwing out t-shirts to the Lions fans. Make some noise for their pride.
Thomas More continues on the long drive, and Griffin scalps ball over the middle, falls incomplete to Agee. But a flag late. Agee, or Scalf, excuse me, got popped on the end of that play. And this might set Thomas More up.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Number 62 of the offense. 15-yard penalty, second down.
Beg your pardon, that goes the other way. It's Kyle Hillerick, the right guard for Thomas More, that commits the penalty after the play was over.
Correction, third down.
Boy,
so
on one,
replays the third down.
on one hand, missed opportunity there, overthrowing the receiver that could have led to a touchdown. But then, again, you have another penalty that backs you up. But, man, a lot of resilience shown by the Saints on this drive alone.
Probably 4-down territory. You don't need to pick it all up here. Third down and 19. Throw comes to the near side, incomplete. Looking for Kennebrew. Hadn't broken yet. And now it's 4th and long for the Saints. The wind has swapped directions. So you kick into the teeth of the open end on the left side. Thomas More forced to go, though, at this point in the game.
Down 21-0. That makes sense. Question will be, will Dayton bring a lot of pressure, or are they going to have a lot of guys drop back into coverage? Let's see how aggressive the Flyers defense gets in this spot.
4th down and 17. Scalf has to wait. Now the pressure comes. He flings it downfield. He had a man, but it's incomplete. There's a flag as well. Brooks Harris, the grad transfer from Mars Hill, was the intended target.
Great pressure by the Flyer defense, only sending 3 guys initially.
Scalf, you could see at the very end there, got his bell rung as he got rid of the football.
There is no foul on the play. The ruling on the field was an incomplete pass. Turnover on downs, Dayton, first down.
And they pick it up.
Another big stop by this Flyers defense. Again, very impressive that the Flyers were able to bring great pressure with only 3 down linemen, or 3 linemen that were rushing the passer initially. They hold their ground. And now, leading 21-0, you put together another one of those long, grinded-out drives. You can officially put this bad boy away.
So the Dayton offense returns to the field. Bryce Schondelmeyer approaching 100 yards on the game. He's got 2 touchdowns through the air. Dayton keeps it on the ground on first down, and Hansen is swung down. Goes for a loss on the play.
I used the word finish a lot in the first half when it came to finishing drives off with touchdowns. Now the Flyers with an opportunity here to finish off this game. It hurts your cause when you have run plays that go backwards on first down, but hopefully they can keep driving the ball downfield here and chew some time off that clock.
Pretty similar look on the ground this week for the Flyers, who went with Mason Hackett early, but it's been a lot of Luke Hansen later on in the game. Schondelmeyer looks to throw. Now he tucks, room up the far sideline, and picks up a chunk.
He had a couple guys coming right at him, but he was very calm, very collected, uses his legs, picks up some good yards, and now a 3rd and manageable situation. But that's the sign of a quarterback to me that has everything with it. He didn't let the situation get too big, and he was able to calmly pick up some yards for his offense.
3rd down and 6 for the Flyer offense. Schondelmeyer with time, lets it rip over the middle and connects. It's Verbancic for a first down as Dayton gets near midfield.
That's a good throw by Schondelmeyer. That's an even better catch by Verbancic. Talked earlier in the game about how Verbancic is going to be that wide receiver for the Flyers that's going to go over the middle, that's going to jump up high, high point those balls, make those tough catches over the middle. That's an example, and that leads to a Flyers first down.
And clings to the ball after a hard hit by Elijah Manning. Dayton can run this down. And they keep it on the ground for Hansen, and there he goes. Out of a shoestring tackle, Luke Hansen, 51 yards, a house call.
This is what a great run game is supposed to do to an opponent. You pound away, you keep pounding away until finally you can pop them with a big run like this. You just wear the defense down, and they can't catch up to you on the way to pay dirt. Great run by Hansen.
First big play touchdown for Hansen this year. Dayton adds the point after, and the Flyers go up 28. Second touchdown of the game for Hansen, and the first time we've really seen him crack one.
Taking a look back on the play, wide gaping hole, and Hansen, who's a powerful runner, can also turn on the jets, does it right there. Hello, end zone.
Former Mr. Football in Indiana, Luke Hansen, who, as you mentioned, saw his carries fade back a little bit towards the end of last year after he was injured in the middle part of the season. Mason Hackett really took over more of that RB1 role. But it has been a big, big day for him on the ground. 15 carries for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns.
4 plays, 67 yards, 2:05 off the clock. Long touchdown run by Hansen. That will make this crowd of 3,185 at Welcome Stadium very, very happy this afternoon.
Beautiful day for the home opener as the Flyers look to win their 5th in a row. And Dayton set to kick it away. Offense has garnered a lot of attention, and deservedly so for their efficiency, but man, this Dayton defense has really slammed the door throughout the day.
There's still some time left in this fourth quarter, but this has been a get-right game in a good way for the Flyers. Defense has been better against the run. Offense has done a nice job of converting when they're supposed to convert. It's been a well-balanced day for this Flyer team overall. You don't like the missed field goal at the beginning of the game. There are still some things that they have to shore up when it comes to special teams, but you're feeling pretty good, much better than you felt last week, where you're being gashed for the run by the run, and you don't really give your offense an opportunity with so little time of possession.
Thomas Moore's offense fought through a lot of long situations last drive, and this one begins with a catch by Preston Agee. It's been one of the primary targets through the air for Griffin Scalf, his 4th catch of the day. 2nd and 6 coming up. Scalf airs it out over the middle. It is caught. Ferenzi in on the tackle again with Bradley's catch.
I know Scalf has had the interception in this game, but look at this replay. When he sets his feet, when he's looking at his target, he delivers a really, really good ball. There's no doubt that he's a talented athlete. It's just that they got to continue to build around him, and he's got to get a little bit more consistency from his receivers on the outside.
Hasn't gotten in as much of a rhythm. He's completed half of his passes so far. There's a short connection outside the numbers for Javion Bostic, the Toledo transfer, who gets out of bounds after a pickup of a few yards.
Toledo favored to win the MAC this year.
Bostic started there after a great career at Winton Woods High School. We were discussing earlier on, if you're a Buckeye fan, you may have known his teammate back in high school, Jermaine Matthews Jr., had a big pick for the Buckeyes in their win over Texas last week. Scalf goes that way again, and Bostic sheds a couple of tackles to get near midfield.
And has always been a quality high school program, Winton Woods. I remember years ago the Buckeyes getting, remember Mayan Williams, the running back, out of that exact same school. Very good football program out of the Cincinnati area.
Between Bostic and Matthews Jr., that was a fun team to watch a couple of years ago. 3rd down and 1. Scalf works out of the eye. Handoff goes to White, and he did not get there. Had to fight just to get to the line of scrimmage. And Dayton's got a chance for another tough stand.
When the Flyers defensive staff goes back and reviews this film, they're going to be really happy with what this defense did in short yardage situations. They've done a very good job on 3rd downs. St. Thomas, only 2 of 8 on 3rd down, only 1 of 3 on 4th down. You'll take those numbers if you're a defense any week.
4th and 1. Scalf aims to throw and dumps it off, incomplete. It was the pressure from Joe Kingsbury to get in Scalf's face. He rushes the throw, and the Flyers force a turnover on downs, which should all but be the nail with 9:39 to play.
Kingsbury, one of those young players expected to step up for this Dayton defense, redshirt sophomore out of Frankfort, Illinois, with great pressure. And now the Flyers, I would say, stick with the run game here and kill some clock, and you should be well on your way to your first win here in 2025.
Dayton play fakes on 1st down. Eyes downfield for Schondelmeyer. Now he's got a red carpet as he picks up the 1st down. And you see what Schondelmeyer can do with his legs as he scampers for 13 yards and a 1st down.
He can not only make plays with his arm, but can also make plays with his legs. That'll be a very big asset for Schondelmeyer as the season goes on.
Dayton set to run this all the way down. Schondelmeyer, quick hitter, is batted down at the line of scrimmage. Malachi Sanders got his hand on it. Schondelmeyer went to the ground as well, and it falls incomplete.
And it looks like the Flyers have a new running back in the backfield, a young man that has kind of been making waves in fall camp.
It's Levi Moel that is in for Dayton, the 3rd string, and you figured returning both Hackett and Hansen, they would be the guys. Trevor Andrews said that he really has 2 #1 quality running backs at the top of his depth chart. But it was a fight to see who would be that number 3 guy in camp. As the throw goes short, looking for Misery there. Schondelmeyer took a hit as well on the end of that. Starting to get beat up a little bit late in this game. There is a flag in the secondary around where that ball was thrown.
Pass interference, defense, number 27. Foul at the spot, automatic, 1st down.
It's on Sincere Jones, the transfer from Arkansas Pine Bluff, who started his career in FBS as a Miami Redhawk back in the day. But back in coverage, there was a ton of contact with Misery, and that sets Dayton up with a 1st down. Looking to throw again. It's toward Misery, and it falls incomplete. Misery's wanting a flag. His shoulder pad popped out of his jersey, but say clean coverage this time by Jones.
Good protection up front, and also a very good block by another running back that has just entered the ballgame for Dayton, Mikey Hess, freshman out of Newark.
Send that ball a little bit airmailed. A lot of hand fighting by Sincere Jones, who's on his fourth school. He's been playing college football off and on since 2019. He also played at Hocking Community College here in the Buckeye Stadium between his time with Miami and Arkansas Pine Bluff. Hand off to Hansen on second down, goes straight up the middle for a pickup of 6. Hocking Community College is the same JUCO as Kansei Matsuzawa, who was the Hawaii kicker who made headlines a few weeks ago after he taught himself how to kick off of YouTube in Japan and nailed a kick against Stanford.
What a great story that was.
All rooted here in the Buckeye State. Third down, meanwhile, for the Flyers. They need 6. Hand off to Moel, and he is bottled up. Short of the sticks. Check that, rather, that is Hess on the carry for the Flyers. The true freshman picks up about half the yardage. Dayton appears like they're going to go for this.
Coach Andrews has been pretty aggressive when it comes to going on these fourth downs.
Goes for it again here. Dayton's been putting the ball in the air a lot on this drive. This has been a pretty aggressive approach. The Flyers are just getting some reps for their offense, and over the middle, there's a catch for Ethan Thulin, and he's got the first down. Dragged down at the 17-yard line. Thulin, the redshirt sophomore, had a catch last week. Makes the grab for a gain of 5, and that's enough for Dayton.
Nice snag by the native from Downers Grove, Illinois. Illinois. Obviously, the vast majority of players on this Dayton squad are from Ohio, and the other 2 in the top 3, state of Indiana, of course, the state of Illinois. Makes sense for a college football program located in the Midwest.
About 6.5 to go. Schondelmeyer keeps it on the ground, and a run around the edge. Tackle comes from behind. A hard tackle at that for Zion Mason, following the carry by Tyler Brown, who's into the game at running back for Dayton.
Boy, Brown is really lucky on this play because you see how he goes down and the way things have been slipping and sliding on this turf. He's very lucky that he didn't tweak something right there and that he was able to get up.
And that he got to ground before that ball came out at the end. Second down and 8 for the Flyers. Under 6 to go. Hand off to Moel, and he is swarmed in the backfield. This goes for a big loss. 6 yards negative.
He didn't even.
That was rather Hansen on the carry. No, rather, it was indeed Moel.
He only took a couple steps, and he was already surrounded by 2 or 3 guys.
Just a breakdown in the offensive line for the Flyers. Third down and 12. Again, we have seen Trevor Andrews not shy to put the ball in the air, despite his team up 4 scores in this spot. Trying to get his young quarterback some reps. And he goes to the air again. Check down. Moel bobbled it and dropped it. Well, there were some white jerseys crashing down, and Moel heard some footsteps as it falls to the turf, and now on 4th and long, Dayton set to kick.
Disappointing end to that drive as they're clearly trying to get reps for Schondelmeyer. Didn't play all that much during his time at Youngstown State and only making his 2nd career start in a Flyer uniform. But now an opportunity for the beleaguered field goal team to make an impact in this game. A bright spot here.
Missed their first 3 field goals this year, including one earlier today. This one just gets away, but it is through for Robbie Smart. And Dayton connects on the field goal from 38 yards away to go up 31-0 with just under 5 minutes to play.
And that's got to feel pretty good for Smart. Able to hook it in there. They have gotten the offense right. They have gotten the defense right. And that's a positive right there going forward for the field goal unit, who has really struggled in these first couple games of 2025. Still some work to do, but that's a good start right there.
So it's 31-0 Flyers, and now Dayton can ride this one out. And a bye week coming up for Dayton, but I think if you're Trevor Andrews, you checked a lot of boxes in what you wanted to get out of this game. You rotated a lot of different pieces in, really in both phases on offense and defense. And you will cruise in week 2 to another home opening win.
The biggest improvement usually happens from week 1 to week 2, and we had a chance to talk with the longtime radio voice of Flyers football and basketball, the legend Larry Hanskin, and he put it best. You got to be able to run the ball, and you got to be able to stop the run. And the Flyers have been able to do that today.
It's been a complete 180 compared to the game last week. Kick goes out of bounds.
Free kick out of bounds. Kicking team. Ball will be placed at the 35-yard line. First down, Thomas More.
So Thomas More gets set up from the 35.
Luke, well, we got a chance. A couple scores around top 25 action in Division 1A, or the FBS level. 11th ranked Illinois barely up against Duke 14-13 at the beginning stages of the third quarter. I think Arch Manning got things turned around for Texas. They're up 28-7 over San Jose State as they begin the third quarter in that one. And second ranked Penn State up 20-0 over Florida International. There at the half.
Scalf lets it rip on first down. It's off the head of the defensive back for Dayton. That falls incomplete. Coverage provided by Noah Nordhaus.
.320 total yards of offense for the Flyers as opposed to only 197. I think more importantly for this Flyer defense, 71 yards on the ground. They will definitely take that after what they had to experience last week over Eastern Illinois.
Scalf misses his target there, and it's third down and 10. With the bye week coming up, you really have a chance to dissect how things have gone both this week and last. And for Dayton, what they'll see, of course, is tremendous improvement in a lot of different areas, most notably the running game and the run defense, as we've highlighted. Dayton not in action next Saturday. They next see the field against Robert Morris 2 weeks from now. Throw to the far side of the field. That is picked off. And it's a toe tap grab for Josh Williams. The local kid from Dayton with the INT. And Dayton's defense puts a bow on it.
Beautiful toe tap by the former Wayne Warrior. There have been a lot of good football players that have come out of that high school football program. And another former Warrior making a play for the Flyer defense.
So Dayton's offense back on the field, and now Drew Van Vliet comes in. And he hands it off on first down. A gallop up the middle. And that is Will Cohen, the redshirt junior, on the carry.
Drew Van Vliet was the starter at quarterback for the Flyers last year, and he performed very well. They wanted to bring in competition at the quarterback position. I give Van Vliet a lot of credit. There are a lot of players that would mope and be very disappointed that they're not out there on the field starting. But thus far, he's been a very good teammate, and he's had a great attitude about this situation.
Goes to the air for the first time, and the catch is made by Leroy Lewis to pick up the first down. Van Vliet didn't get into the game last week, so this is his season debut. He was a Jerry Rice Award finalist last year, had 1,963 yards and 18 touchdowns last season. Former state champ out of Richmond, Indiana. 3.5 to play. And Van Vliet keeps it on the ground. Off-tackle run for Will Cohen. Picks up a couple yards.
I think it really speaks to the culture of this proud Dayton football program that Van Vliet, he was able to take the competition in spring ball. He was able to take the competition during fall camp. And he's out there supporting his teammate, Bryce Schondelmeyer, who's had a very good day at quarterback. But you just never know. Something might happen to Bryce, and Van Vliet's number may be called, and he may have to step in at a crucial situation. He's got to remain ready at that moment.
Cohen again brought down. You know, in midweek, Trevor Andrews was asked about his decision to go with Bryce Schondelmeyer, and this guy that, of course, was very good in his high school career in the Buckeye State. He's in the OHSAA record books, but said that, like you said, Van Vliet took things very well and really didn't shy away from the fact that Van Vliet probably would get reps at some point this season, whether in games like this or in maybe some tighter ones down the stretch. But we will just have to see. Van Vliet to the air, over the middle, it's Mazzeri with the catch. He reels it in at the 10-yard line, and that brings us to the 2-minute timeout.
This is the 2-minute timeout.
He is stopped by number 24, Jalen Alfonso.
And it's plays like that that can really make Van Vliet a valuable asset for this Flyers team. Listen, we've all heard the old saying, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none. Obviously, you want one firm set starter. But I think in this particular case, if you can have a guy like Van Vliet come off the bench at a moment's notice if something happens to Schondelmeyer, that's really going to help the Flyers. And that's a situation that not a lot of teams in the Pioneer Football League can say about their own squads.
Said it was a good problem to have that kind of depth at the quarterback position. Again, it makes your decision difficult. You don't really want to split reps, but you know that whoever you decide to go with can be a guy for you. Minute 55 to go, and Dayton set up with another chance to score.
And right now, this is just all about the offense, getting more and more reps. You're feeling pretty good right now if you're the Flyer offense, but you want to end this on a good note and have all those good feelings heading into the bye week.
Van Vliet off his back foot, skips one into Mazzeri, incomplete.
As you mentioned, Luke, Flyers picked to finish 5th in the PFL this year. San Diego, who took it on the chin last week against Cal Poly. They're the ones that were tabbed the favorites in the PFL. It's been a while since the Flyers can call themselves conference champions. And I know Trevor Andrews and his staff, they're wanting the Flyers to move up in the standings in the PFL.
Coming off a winning season last year at 6-5. That ball falls incomplete. And it's 3rd down and 10 for Dayton from the 11-yard line.
Number 5 just go out of the game for one stab due to his helmet coming off through play.
So again, one more week to really get things right for Dayton So you take on Robert Morris. They play Bryce Schondelmeyer's former team today, Youngstown State. Game just underway in the first quarter. That's your final chance to fine-tune things before you welcome Stetson in here on September 27th. Some shuffling up front, and Dayton gets flagged.
Delay game. Offense number 11. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Play clock ran out on Van Vliet.
After that Stetson game, Flyers will go on the road trips to Morehead State and Valparaiso, home games against Butler and Presbyterian, and then, man, that is going to be a really hard November for the Flyers as I take a look at the schedule. You go to San Diego, who's going to be a good team. Drake is usually pretty good. And Davidson has turned into that big rival.
Correction. False start. Offense number 78. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Davidson and Dayton have a rivalry has developed between those two teams. They do not like each other. I saw that grudge match firsthand here last year, a hard-fought game between both of those teams. That's going to be the season finale at Davidson for the Flyers.
Wildcats, another team under a first-year head coach. Van Vliet goes to the end zone, and Mazzeri brings it in. Michael Mazzeri had a touchdown last week, and now he's got his first as a Dayton Flyer at his home stadium. And Drew Van Vliet with a successful first drive of the year.
And you can see why they are very excited to have this young man in a Flyer uniform. It gives whoever is playing quarterback another option through the air. Can't wait to see what he's able to do with Laco and all those other weapons for this Flyers offense this season.
Mazzeri transferred in from Cincinnati for the spring. You said really excited about what he could do. Another guy that had a great high school career at Kings, was 2nd in the nation in touchdowns as a high school senior. He's used to getting in the end zone.
We were talking before the game about this new landscape of college football, NIL, the transfer portal. And, you know, obviously people pay attention to the guys that go to the big-time schools, the Alabamas, the Ohio States. Well, sometimes there are those players at the FBS level that get caught up, that get lost in the shuffle. They don't get starting opportunities. You see Mazzeri transfers in from Cincinnati. You see Schondelheimer coming in from a program like Youngstown State. A guy from Notre Dame. How about that? A guy from Notre Dame transferring in to Dayton as well. It's not just the big schools that are able to take advantage of the transfer portal. It's schools like Dayton that are able to pluck these guys that just didn't have enough starting time or just weren't getting enough opportunities at these bigger programs to come to Dayton and to help further that winning culture that they have here at Dayton.
Dayton has used it in a little bit of a different way. You see that from a lot of teams in the Pioneer League compared to the rest of the FCS, much like the Eastern Illinois team that Dayton saw last week, which was roughly half newcomers. Dayton's never going to be a team like that, but they have brought in a few transfers to really sprinkle in and complement what they already have, and they expect big things from Mazzeri this year. Thomas More, meanwhile, they pick up conference play immediately. They've got a bye next week as well, but they will head up north to Michigan to start GMAC play against Northwood the week after that, looking for their first winning season since 2018. That was when they were Division III.
Thomas More picked to finish 8th in what they call the GMAC, the Great Midwest Athletic Conference. Ashland, the preseason favorite to win that conference. This is a team that recently became a member of Division II. There are going to be inevitable growing pains as you're trying to move from one level of college football to another.
Welch down the far side, wrapped up for a loss. But Dayton's going to be very, very pleased with what they did today. You had a brief moment for the Flyers after that opening drive where you stall short of the end zone and miss a field goal that you think you might be in a situation just like last week where you miss some opportunities and end up in a tight game late, but credit to the Flyer defense for keeping Thomas More at bay. They continue to shred things up front with another TFL.
Joel
and the Dayton
Allen.
offense got it done.
Joel Allen making that tackle right there, redshirt sophomore out of Cincinnati. No, you got to be feeling great if you're the Flyers, and I think the key word that you would have to use for this win is finish. They were able to finish drives. They were able to finish stops on defense. They were able to even finish a drive with a field goal make, which they have struggled with so far here in 2025. This is a good time to get a win today, first win of the season, and from here on out, hopefully Coach Andrews can build upon it, and it'll be a successful season for the Flyers.
Hoping to stack on a winning season from last year. Dayton struggled a little bit down the stretch, but they've got a chance to make some noise in the PFL. Play starting up in a few weeks' time. But for now, Dayton wins their 5th home opener in a row as the Flyers take care of Thomas More. 38-0 your final score as Dayton improves to 1-1 on the year. And you said it overall, just a crowd pleaser type of game for the Flyers. They did things well in all 3 phases, and you really like to see that growth from week 1 to week 2, especially with a young team.
Flyers doing a great job of running the football today with 200 rushing yards on the afternoon, holding Thomas More to only 74 yards. Over 300 yards of total offense. Big plays made by Luke Hansen, the running back, with a couple rushing touchdowns. Gavin Locko with some great catches, a couple scores for him, and very, very pleased with the performance of Bryce Schondelmeyer. I think the Flyers have a really big talent in this kid. I think that they got a great player at quarterback, and I think that's going to pay big dividends for UD here in 2025.
We will talk to you next on September 27th. Same time, same place, a noon start as the Dayton Flyers open up PFL play against the Stetson Hatters. Bye week coming up for Dayton, followed by a trip to Robert Morris in a couple weeks' time to wrap up the non-conference slate. And that will wrap things up for us here from Welcome Stadium. My partner, Charlie Danis, Scott Helton, the rest of our great crew, Luke Westpoli signing off. Dayton wins it 38-0 comfortably over Thomas More, and the Flyers continue to get it done in home openers. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time from the Gem City.